One of the four foundations, the 4 E's of our profession, is ethics. I often ask the question to my audiences, do you think you're ethical? Well, the overwhelming response is yes. We all think we're ethical till we're not. Margarita Gurri is my amazing guest who shares her insights about ethics in ways that just make sense to us as speakers. And now, here's Margarita. Margarita Gurri is my guest on VOE, or otherwise known as Dr. Red Shoe. And there is a story behind that, so go ahead, since I have laid it on the table, and tell us the Red Shoe story.
All right, I will. The two-cent version of it. In 1960, we escaped from Castro's Cuba. And at that time, my family was told that we could leave with one suitcase for the family and $5 per person.
Oh my goodness.
My mother was so not happy with that she decided she was going to leave her way with her red shoes on to Castro. So many years later, when my mom was dying, and she had a very dramatic death, took a year. She was a very good Cuban. She would have been a great speaker that way with the drama. Talk about the pause, right? I started wearing the red shoes as a nod to her and my parents' courage and their graciousness in how they handled everything, starting over, losing. We never, when we came to this country, complained. We're Americans now, we're proud, no complaint. And so the shoes for me represented that. Audiences started calling me Red Shoe Lady, Red Shoe Doctor, finally Dr. Red Shoe Fit. So that's what it is.
Oh my goodness.
Yep.
So, Margarita, let's talk ethics.
Oh, I love ethics in the morning.
I hear you. Like cornflakes, huh?
I know, it just always smells pretty to me.
Oh. So, of the 4 E's that we have as members of the National Speakers Association, one of those pillars is the pillar of ethics.
Yes, it is.
So, a lot of people will assume, oh my God, I'm ethical, until they're not.
Yes.
So let's talk about some of the minefields that can take place that inadvertently we might trip over and find ourselves exploded into without intention.
I think that's a great place to start, thanks.
So, what would those be from your perspective?
Well, the first one is we all think we're ethical. So I ask you, are you an ethical person? You'll say, yes.
Right.
And then the question that I've been asking more lately is, how ethical is your team? So even if I think I'm ethical, maybe somehow I'm encouraging or not discouraging or not even aware of something of my team. But even if I am aware, like when I first started speaking, I thought I was really swift. And I copied cute pictures like the Peanuts cartoon because I'm a shrink, so you know, the 5 cents. I took videos without, I didn't know. So my ignorance made me unethical. And so some of it is just lack of understanding. So
let's go down that rabbit hole, because I have a feeling you're going to give us several. So as speakers, often we do find video, oh my gosh, I love that clip, or we might find a cartoon that we think, oh, that really fits, that'll be great in the PowerPoint presentation, yet in most cases, if not all cases, the majority of what we might find has already been copyrighted.
That's true. And it's complicated because free use or fair use isn't always free use. And it's sometimes hard to find out who do I buy the license to use this from. So the easiest thing is be original. Create your own stuff, be exciting, be your own unique and weird self. That's what sells best anyway.
Okay. So as speakers, I really want to kind of pull the layers of the onion back. Okay. You've done work with CSPs or people who are aspiring CSPs, earning that designation, and you wrote a book, The Ethical Speaker.
Yes, sir.
Right. So what are 4 or 5 of the ethics issues that people tend to trip over?
Okay, so let's talk it more broadly and then we'll go to speakers.
Okay.
More broadly, there's some reasons why we misbehave. I'm a psychologist, so I take a look at it that way.
Okay.
The most important reason why people misbehave is they're being altruistic.
Okay.
They're trying to help someone. So they give overly generous feedback. They're hiding the truth for or from someone. They do a favor for someone knowing that they're fudging the facts. So let's say you want to be a CSP and you're missing a few. So say, let's do a course together, and then I'll pay you, but you give me the money back or something. So just doing a favor, altruism, sometimes a good heart blinds us in the soul and in the head, and the spirit of Cabot ends up on the floor.
Okay.
And so I think that's one of the first things. And most speakers are pretty generous, so they want to help.
Okay.
So I would say that's the biggest landmine.
Okay.
Be careful about the favors you do.
Okay. What else?
So I think another reason we misbehave is what George May, who's an ethicist, used to say, the big four. I call them the delicious temptations.
Okay.
So it's greed, speed, laziness, and haziness. And because I grew up Cuban and mostly in Miami, I add craziness.
Okay.
So there's the big four and then the craziness. I think that a lot of times why we're unethical is we're greedy. We want to do something either greedy with time. We do it so fast, we don't think about the consequences. So we don't think about what permissions do I need, what respect do I need to show to this law or this culture or this individual or this intellectual property. Speaker Magazine has a whole bunch of really great articles that you can check out on ethics that is especially relevant to speakers. And then there's that's the speed and greed kind of together. Then there's the laziness and the haziness. A lot of times I'm just, lazy. You're lazy. We just cut a corner. And so you miss something. You forget to put an attribution on your slide, and then over time you forget to say it. And you tell me a story. I think, Chuck, that's a great story. May I tell it? You say, sure, Margarita. And I say, well, the other day Chuck Gallagher told me this amazing story, and I interviewed you on my podcast. You were fabulous. Lots of things I could steal from you, and pretty soon though they're mine. So then I say, like I was saying the other day. And then I own it. Right. And some of it's on purpose, some of the haziness. What's yours, what's mine, it's all good. So we get a little confused. And most of it's not intentional at all. And then the craziness is, a lot of times we get this manic energy, the hypomanic energy. I want to do this, not this, not this. And after a while, it's easy to realize that you did all this stuff without thinking about the foundations of your ethical practices. What do you need to do? Who could be harmed by what you say? As my father used to say, any joke that begins with this, don't tell. I mean, so sometimes our unethical behavior, and like with psychology, it's different. With speakers, it's different. The speaker's code, we have 8 principles, ethical principles, and they're aspirational. And we're in the process, I believe, of making them stronger, that provide more guidance that's more specific. And I believe we'll get there. We have an amazing ethics team, and I believe over time they'll get to be so that any haziness or laziness on my part has been supported by the ethics team's efforts and NSA's efforts. So hopefully we'll have even more guidance in the near future.
So you were a researcher on HIV.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
But now you speak, and one of the topic areas is ethics.
Yes.
What's the connection?
Since I'm a psychologist, people have for years come to me when there's an oops, or when they have want to avoid an oops. So I work with people when they're facing problems with people, communication, and ethics. That's where the energy is.
Gotcha.
There's conflict. Someone made a big mistake. Someone's going to jail. They're facing disgrace and have to say, I'm sorry. And I think that I help people maximize their amazingness when they have the most energy. Whether on the rise and they're excited, but most people wait for disgrace before they actualize their best selves. So they have a disgrace, either it's imminent or it's right there. And then I can help them figure out how to get to the next level.
That's so powerful.
Yes.
So let me ask you this question as we wrap up the VOE segment. If you were to look where you are now and the success that you've had, and then you were to look back at young Dr. Red Shoes and say, what should I not do? What would you advise your younger self not to do?
I was busy being too Catholic and proud. If it was meant to be, God would bring it. And I'm supposed to do this by myself and not burden anyone. I've been so blessed, I shouldn't ask for any help. So the thing I would go back and say, hey, Chuck, how would I do this better? I would say, Tim Birkin, how do I handle this better? Stan Walter, I have this opportunity. What would you suggest I do? So I would ask for more help. And so I would ask everyone, I mean, the spirit of Cabot is making the pie bigger, but that also means making the foundation of our resources bigger. And I would ask for more help, and I hope people ask me for help.
Margarita, that is so awesome. Thank you for taking the time to be on VOE. You are a fun guest,
well,
and I don't think anybody expected ethics to be quite like this.
Well, ethics don't have to be boring, and they always smell good. Thank you for having me.